Hey, guess what? I invented a new thing. I call it the light stick. And what it does, here's how it works. Basically, you push this little button on the back, and then it shoots light out of the front so you can see in the dark. It's really cool. Here, I'll show you. Lights! Pretty cool, right? Just need to figure out a way to get investors involved with it. And then I could have them get more investors to sell the light stick, and then those people could get even more people to sell the light stick, and then those people could get even more people, and they could get even more people, and then it just keeps going. And then I could have everybody pay me money to sell the light stick, and then we'll all start making money off this incredible product! Yeah, I feel pretty good about this. It'd be a quick and easy way to make some money while I'm on house arrest. Speaking of new inventions, I got something else I want to try out. See, I started Halloween at the beginning of the month because I love the holiday. But I haven't actually played any horror games yet, something that goes hand in hand with Halloween. I'm sure I played an NES game at the beginning of the month, and that's terrifying in and of itself, but I want to play a real, actual, legitimate, unironic, genuine horror game. So, without further ado, it's time to spin the cliche horror game that everybody plays at Halloween wheel. Okay, Luigi's Mansion. This may just be E-rated horror, but hey, that was my nickname in elementary school, and everyone was terrified of me there, so I don't really think it matters. Let's just play this game with the GameCube controllers that I definitely had. Alright. Just gonna put this game in here, and spin the wheel again! Bendy and the Ink Machine. Well, I actually have a way to play this game, and I'm running low on printer ink, so why not?
Bendy and the Ink Machine is a first-person survival horror game that basically asks, what if Walt Disney was a f***ing psychopath? The idea came from a guy who goes only by The Meatly, who was making a game with a 1930s cartoon aesthetic. Like Cuphead, except it's terrifying. He realized that this environment he was creating was unsettling, to say the least, so he brought a guy on called Mike Mood, and together they created Bendy and the Ink Machine. Chapter 1, which they released for free on February 10th, 2017.
A game they released incomplete for free? This game's gonna be horrible, isn't it?
Actually, there was never supposed to be any chapters after the game was released, but it blew up in popularity, which inspired the creators to expand the team and continue to expand the story.
And this right here is the result of that expansion. After the game was completed, it was ported to PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch, with all 5 chapters included. So, without further ado, let's hop into it. Actually, you know what? To set the atmosphere, this is the perfect time to show off the light stick some more. Lights! Alright, let's play a video game.
Alright, so first impressions are key, and, well, this is some very unsettling music. That's probably fine, let's do this. Bendy and the Ink Machine stars Henry Stein, an animator called to his old studio he ran with his friend Joey Drew.
Uh-oh.
All Henry gets is a letter saying that Joey Drake wants to show him something. Well, that's astonishingly vague, but let's check it out anyways. The place is abandoned. There's nobody here. And, man, this place is giving me the heebie-jeebies, and I would like to stop playing now.
I've been going for 5 minutes.
Walking around introduces us to our main style of gameplay for this adventure. Walking, it's walking. You just kind of walk around until you find something like exciting, and holy shit, seeing this f***er's cheeky smile after turning every single corner is making me so uncomfortable, I want to stop playing.
I've been going for 7 minutes.
So Henry comes across this big empty room, and pulling this lever lifts out what he came here to see. The Ink Machine.
Wow. Okay, that's it, right? I don't need to say anything else. Sweet, let's get out of here.
So Henry decides to go turn the machine on for some reason because the suspicious lack of people, ominous writings on the wall, ink leaking everywhere, and dilapidated state of the studio weren't telltale enough signs that that would be a bad idea. But in order to turn the thing on, he needs a doll, a book, a wrench, a gear, an ink vial, and a record. Who put this here?
You know what? It's fine. There's no actual threat here. I mean, sure, someone scrolled dreams come true on that wall over there, and sure, that Bendy cutout just moved by itself, but there's no real threat, and even if there was, they're just cartoon characters. How scary could it be?
So after flooding a room with ink and collecting all the necessary items, the ink machine turns on, and the lights turn off. Well, I mean, I went through that whole ordeal, so might as well go check it out. I don't have a problem with walking through a cramped hallway with the lights off. Absolutely not!
Okay, that is not a cartoon character!
Alright, I think that was a good time to run. Let's run now! Running now, please! How about running now, please? Thank you! Shit! And thus truly begins the journey through Joey Derrick Studios. We've got a little more ways to walk before coming across an axe. Might be useful now that I know something's out to get me. And then we come across this. And then chapter 1 ends.
Wait, you're telling me the game originally ended there? And they didn't think there was anything to finish until after it blew up? Okay.
Alright, so Henry wakes up and continues into the studio to find himself in the music recording department, once headed by a Sammy Lawrence. Like the rest of the studio, it's completely abandoned and has clearly seen better days. Holy shit, there's ink people coming out of the ground! Holy fuck! I did it. I beat the ink people. So now the goal is to leave the music department, and by extension the studio in general, but for now, the stairwell leaving the music department is flooded with ink. So we gotta find a way to drain it. After some aimless wandering and a bit of puzzle solving, we enter Sammy Lawrence's sanctuary. Actually, the way to get in here is pretty cool. See, there's these tape recording things all over the studio that aren't necessary to listen to, but provide some backstory to the former employees. Now, this here room has instruments that you need to play in a certain order to open the door to the sanctuary, and there's a tape that tells you what the order is, blah blah blah, not super interesting. But then there's another tape that would talk about how Sammy would turn the projector in a different room on and then sprint back to the instrument room. And I mean, it's not an amazing puzzle or anything, but it's kind of smart and I like it. Anyways, we're looking for a key to get in the control room to turn off the ink flow, but it turns out this ink person in a snazzy hat here stole the keys. So we play this very easy game where we corner him under this platform, drop the platform on his head, and take the keys back. Then we go unlock the door, turn the ink off, walk back to the stairs, and... Damn
it, I've been wandering around down here for so long! Can't I just be done?
So, turns out Sammy Lawrence isn't dead. He's just been turned into an ink person who is now obsessed with Bendy and is planning to offer Henry as a sacrifice.
Look, man, I've already put a gear on a pedestal. This is not the weirdest thing that happened to me today. Okay, but that doesn't mean you have to keep going through with this!
But Henry is able to escape and comes to a fork in the road. Oh boy. Okay. So... I refuse to move any further.
Okay, you know what? Fuck the light stick! Turn the lights back on! Alright, that didn't really help.
Alright, so now I've seen the threat. I know what it looks like. And I hate it. Okay, so you see this guy? This is Bendy, and this is Bendy if he was tall and malnourished. At least he looks like he's having a good time. Just look at that smile. I really, really hate that smile. So Henry runs from tall malnourished to Bendy as any sane person would, and fails because, I'll be completely honest, I had no idea where I was or where I was supposed to go. And dying traps you in ink purgatory. Fortunately, escaping ink purgatory is as easy as walking in a straight line. Once you leave, you're respawned at these Bendy statues, which at first glance do not look very helpful or friendly. Anyways, after a few more minutes of aimless wandering and dying to Bendy later because I still don't have a full grasp on where I am, Henry finally escapes. But it doesn't seem like he's alone.
Can I ever just escape and that be the end of it?
Boris?
Oh! It's just Boris. It's just Boris. Don't worry, guys. It's just Boris. Wait, is that a good or a bad thing?
Okay, it looks like it's a good thing. Boris has been locked in a safe house. And Henry wants to leave.
Why would you want to go back out there?
Alright, so chapter 3 is really, really long. You go through this toy factory, and then you encounter another demented cartoon character, Alice Angel, who isn't thrilled to see you. So then you come across this fork in the road that gives you the choice between the demon path and the angel path.
Alright, so here's what I'm thinking. I'm already on Bendy's bad side, right? So if I go the demon way, then I'm pretty much asking for trouble. But if I go the angel way, maybe Alice won't be a complete monster to me. Alright, this thought process.
And so begins the seemingly endless set of arduous tasks Alice sends you out to do. And they all boil down to, go to this floor and bring me back some object, and then back out and find me another object on another floor, and the whole time Bendy's still out hunting you anyway, so you have to hide in these little cabinets until he leaves the room, and it's all very tedious. Especially the last thing she has you do, where you get sent even further down to get these heart things, but the problem is, they're hidden in this maze, which is patrolled by the projectionist, another ink person, except this time, he's got a projector strapped to his head. He's not really all that scary, but if you walk into his range of sight, which is very big I might add, he lets out this awful ear-splitting screech. Every single time, and it gets old really fast. But anyways, after you spend a couple hours doing all this crap, Alice finally lets you go.
Did you really think I could steal from me? Let you go?
So, here we go to chapter 4, f***'s sake.
Alright, second wind.
Chapter 4 drops Henry into the storage facility of Joey Darcy Studios, and holy shit, how far down does this damn building go? Alright, for the record, I actually like this chapter. I like this part at the beginning where you ride a lift across this chasm and the music is super suspenseful, like something's about to come at you and then nothing actually happens. I thought that was really funny. I like how the whole storage facility is holding attractions for a cancelled Bendy land, including this boss fight against the designer of the park who's been turned into a spinny ride. I don't know. And I like how the chapter essentially reveals that all of the workers at Joey Dalton Studios were turned into ink people. It makes you wonder if Joey Darnell himself is... No, speak of the devil. And there's also this part where there's another projectionist you have to deal with, and so you hide in one of the safety boxes, and then you think it's gonna get you still, when all of a sudden, Bendy comes along and sucks the soul out of it or something, and then drags its lifeless body away. But the main objective of this chapter is to rescue Boris from Alice. So, after running around in Bendyland for a little bit, you hop in this little car and go through a haunted house ride, and...
Boris! Oh no, what has she done to you?
Oh no. No, this is... No, this... is a horrible boss fight!
Alright, so Boris will do an attack and spit out a little glob of ink, which is supposed to put in this little machine, which is introduced earlier in the chapter, and it can create certain objects. One of these objects the machine makes is a bone, so I thought instead of fighting Boris, I could give him bones and maybe save him. You cannot. So what you're supposed to do is make a weapon and then smack Boris with it, in which case he'll switch up his main attack. He does a run move, a jump move, and a throw move. The run and throw moves are easy enough to dodge, but for the life of me, I couldn't figure out how to get around the jump move, and so I kept dying to it over and over again. But anyways, after like 30 minutes, Henry finally kills Boris, Alice gets pissed and charges at him, and then she gets stabbed through the heart.
Sorry, what? Sorry, what?
Alright, chapter 5, home stretch, and this is good Alice and not Boris. His name's Tom for some reason. And they locked Henry in a cage because while they saved his life, they don't actually trust him. And then Tom goes and accidentally reveals to Bendy where their secret base is, so he and Alice abandon Henry and leave him to die.
At that point, why wouldn't you just let evil Alice kill him?
Henry's able to escape though, thanks to this seeing tool thingy that reveals hidden messages on the walls. So what's next? Well, clearly it's piloting a raft down an ink river, running away from a giant ant, then arriving at a village of ink people, then fighting Sammy Lawrence, who apparently didn't die back however many hours ago that was, then being rescued by Tom, who apparently got a random change of heart, fight a massive horde of ink people, then fall down another pit into the main offices of the studio.
How big is this fucking building?
run around to the offices to find some ink blobs to take back to the creation machine to make pipes to drain ink out of this hallway.
Actually, one thing quick. While I was running around back here, the walls started to get inky like they normally do when Bendy starts showing up. Except I never saw him, and it never happened again. The fact that it only happened once makes me think it was a glitch and the game just started to spawn Bendy on accident.
Then reunite with Tom and Alice, who just got down here somehow, and finally return to the ink machine. That is not the ink machine. That is enormous.
Alright, we're finally at the end of the game. It's time for the final showdown against Bendy. This is going to be terrifying, but whew, I'm ready. Here we go. That was terrible.
Alright, so in the ink machine, Henry finds the last tape recording of Joey Diana, and he talks about how the only way to stop Bendy is by quite literally showing him the end. And then Bendy shows up, turns into this, which I'm gonna be honest is way less scary than how he looked before, and then Henry and Bendy just run around a bunch. And then Henry shows Bendy the end, and Bendy dies, and it's super anticlimactic, and then it's revealed that he wasn't Joey Deborah the whole time, he was just a monster.
Wait, what?
And then Henry returns to reality because the whole thing was fake, and he meets with Joey Dillon, who talks about how he ruined the empire they helped create together and how everyone else at the studio was able to find something to do with their lives, but he couldn't because he doesn't really know who he is, and then he sends Henry back to the studio when the game ends.
Look, so, okay, I really hate to say this, but Chapter 5 totally drops the ball. And not like a little fumble, I mean like dropping the ball into the Grand Canyon. And then diving in after it.
Look, Bendy and the Ink Machine ain't a bad game at all. It's got a lot of great ideas. It's just, the ending doesn't really provide a satisfying conclusion. Not just in the story, but in the gameplay too. There's a suspicious lack of puzzles and stealth sections in Chapter 5, and pretty much any sense of horror or dread has been completely vaporized. That section I glossed over where you fight a huge horde of ink people, it literally boils down to the combat in this game really isn't fun, so I'm not sure why there's such a large section of it here. And that part where you're running around the offices, well, there are these ink monsters that show up in earlier parts of the game patrolling down here, but the problem is, they're not really a threat. A jumpscare noise plays whenever one sees you, but you could just outrun them and hide to get rid of them.
And then there's how the story wraps up. Okay, so there's a scene that plays after the end credits where you can hear a little girl ask,
Tell me another one, Uncle Joey.
implying that the whole game was just Joey Dwayne telling his niece about the collapse of his studio in a slightly fantastical and creepy way. But beyond that, that story to me was about obsession and pushing something too far, too much of a good thing and stuff like that. And most of the big threats in the game reflect this, how they became obsessed with their work until it pretty much destroyed them. And I think that's why everyone thought Joey Duncan was gonna be Bendy, since it was him who had the ink machine built in an attempt to try and bring something new to the studio. The problem is that Joey just kind of figures out by himself that he went too far, and then just calls Henry to the studio to destroy Bendy. But, we never see that growth, and so while destroying is, signifying Joey finally letting go of his obsession, it still feels like a hollow victory. Oh, and speaking of which, let's talk about that final boss.
I'm not kidding when I say I was laughing my ass off for the entire final boss. Just look at this! How the hell am I supposed to take this seriously? He's just running around aimlessly. There's nothing threatening about this. He's not even looking for me. He's just running around and going through walls and bumping into me. You want to know what I would do to fix this? Okay, first of all, I would not show what Bendy looks like when he transforms. I was way more scared of Bendy at the beginning of the game than I was at the end because I didn't know what he looked like. I didn't know what I was hiding from. Oh, and also, I thought Bendy was way creepier before he transformed than after. I don't really know what to change about this design or what's wrong with it or what doesn't do it for me, but I just think it needs to be scarier somehow. But again, don't show what that looks like. Just have him fall behind the chair and then slap me into the maze room. And then instead of having him run around like a 5-year-old that just overdosed on sugar, make this a stealth section. Have him come through the walls and floors randomly with almost no warning. And then make the room way more of a maze, and the goal is to find a way back to show Bendy the end reel. And then maybe the reel could have a vague map of the room on it so you're not wandering around for hours. And you could use something like the secret finder to get hints about where to go or something. And then if Bendy catches you, imagine if there were multiple respawn points and he would just drop you at a random one so you have to figure out where you are and where to go. And speaking of when he catches you, make the death scarier. Have like the whole screen go dark and then he leaps out at you and bites your head off. And maybe even make different animations so that you don't know what he'll do to you when he catches you. This way, the game stays scary to the end. Oh, and also, make Joey Daisy Bendy! It fits with the story so much more, and it would be way more satisfying to free him than do whatever the hell this is. See, because here's the thing. Pretty much everything in the game points to Joey being Bendy, and the main thing is that scene in Chapter 4 when Bendy kills the projectionist. Because you also have this part earlier in the events where he sees you and doesn't do anything, and my reaction to this was, okay, what if this was Joey recognizing his old friend and getting a small bit of sanity back, and then that's why he comes back later and saves Henry? Because he also clearly sees him again here and does nothing again. It all just feels like a setup for a big satisfying reveal at the end of the game. And if you need more story context, then change the last tape recording to have Joey Davis going insane and rambling on about how nobody will see the end or whatever. And there! Now the final boss is not only scarier, but it also fits with the rest of the game, and the ending provides a more satisfying conclusion. And you know what? You can even keep the final cutscene as is, and it'll still work. You could even have Joey thank Henry for saving him, and as a reward, have something to show Henry, and bam, we're back in the studio, implying that Joey can't quite let go of his obsession.
I'm not saying I know how to write or make a game, or even that Bendy and the Ink Machine is a bad game, far from it. I actually really enjoyed my time with it. I think it does a phenomenal job of establishing a mystery and a creepy tone. It's just, in my opinion, the end of the game kind of loses some of that mystery and creepiness, so I'm just giving my thoughts on how you could maybe keep that feeling there. But you know what? It's whatever. I played a horror game this Halloween, and that's all that matters. Well, that, and I created a revolutionary new product. Man, I gotta tell someone about that light stick and my plans for it! Alright. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I got it. Alright, yeah. Okay. Alright, cool, thanks. Alright, yeah, I'll talk to you later. Okay, so the police said that the light stick is a pyramid scheme and plagiarism. So they're extending my house arrest from a while to until further notice.